The first Democratic debates are in the books. Will it help whittle down this very crowded stage? And former Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette on the decision to drop criminal charges in the Flint water case. Today is Sunday, June 30th, 2019, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. We now have a pretty fair idea of what we're in for here in Detroit about a month from now. The next round of Democratic debates comes our way as the show moves north from Miami to the Fox Theater. It was, as it almost had to be by definition, a rather unruly affair, a very crowded stage filled with clear frontrunners who managed to get more airtime and clear trailers who reeked of desperation in trying to steal away some of that precious airtime. But did it help you arrive at any conclusions? Were there any breakthroughs? Kamala Harris certainly seemed to get a ton of time, at least on Twitter, in debate number 2. And if Google has anything to say about it, Tulsi Gabbard was the most searched term the night of debate number 1. I guess that is a breakthrough for a candidate that many knew absolutely nothing about going in. But it all happened against some fascinating developments in other fronts, most notably the Supreme Court decision on gerrymandering. It was basically word that the nation's highest court doesn't believe they can make a decision on gerrymandering, that it's not a matter for them to decide. We thought we might be in for a shuffle in 2020 in Michigan. It appears our districts will remain the same until the year after that, when that newly created districting system will kick in. That's a lot for our roundtable to dig into this morning. We'll do that. And then a little later on, former Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette will be here to talk about the decision from the current AG to completely scrap his $23 million effort to prosecute the Flint water crisis. All today on Flashpoint. It was a big week for the Democrats with their 2 primetime debates, a big week indeed. But was it a good week for the Democrats? Let's talk about that this morning with Stephen Henderson from WDET in Detroit today, Steve Mitchell back with us from Mitchell Research, Jill Alper is here from Alper Strategies, and Dennis Darnoy from Densar Consulting. Gang, thank you all very much for being here this morning. Jill, let me start with you. I think there were the Monday morning quarterbacking that happened on Friday seemed to be a lot of Democrats going, we're in big trouble if the whole country thinks that we're all in favor of, for example, unlimited lifetime health care for illegal immigrants. I mean, what would you say overall? Was this a good week for the Democrats or not a great week?
I think there are a lot of different voices right now. People are running, and the party's got to settle on who they're going to put before the American people. I personally would have liked to have seen more conversation about Donald Trump, frankly. We are, I think, pretty allied in our values and our views. Plans, however, are different. But when you think about it, the people who got on that stage had to have tens of thousands of contributions representative of at least 20 states in our country, and much akin to everybody saying the sky was falling in 2008. We had a robust primary with just a handful of candidates, right. But it produced President Barack Obama. So it's a diverse field, and there's some history in the making, and I think we're going to land where we need to and take on this president, who is also not very popular. All
of this happened 7 months before the first vote will be cast anywhere, Stephen, and I know I was with you on Wednesday night, and I know you think this is all way too early.
Yeah, I'm ready to stick my head in a freezer for the next 8 months or something, and then come out and look at it all. I just think there's too many candidates. There is too much showboating and shallowness.
But you got a lot of people fighting for survival already,
well,
right?
Yeah, and I think they should be able to do that off of that stage, right? Oh. I mean, we should have the process play out in a way that's not on national television at this point, because there's no point in that, right? I mean, people aren't really paying attention and making decisions at this point. It's kind of entertainment.
Don't you think some people with money are making decisions?
Maybe, right? They certainly are being invited to by this process. I thought the debates were remarkably shallow and chaotic. I thought the constant rotating of moderators.
Weird.
You've moderated debates, I've moderated debates. You know how hard that is to keep track of everything, to make sure that people are getting their time. When you have 8 people shuffling in and out trying to do that, I don't know how that was ever gonna work. This is, for me, a sign of the process being kind of broken, and maybe we can come up with something better. I don't know.
The guy running the audio board wasn't sure that was supposed to work right. on the first night either. Steve, is it too early, or is that just I mean, it really does seem a long way away, but I think this, I guess, speaks to the appetite that Democrats have to start thinking about change.
Well, no, I think that it was smart to do it early, because if you do it early, then you can get rid of the weaker candidates, and then you can really get into the serious candidates as we get closer to the election. And I suspect that's precisely why they decided to do it that way. And it made sense, and I think we're beginning to see who is weak and who is strong. And as we move down the road and we get into next year, then we'll be down to 4 or 5 of the most serious candidates, and then we can really have some robust debates about ideas.
It is too big of a field. Was it fatal for anybody? Will they all be here come time for them to come to Detroit here in about a month?
You know, Marianne Williamson maybe didn't do too well. There are a lot that didn't do as well as they could. I was impressed. I was impressed with just about all of the debaters. I thought they all did a good job. I don't agree with a lot of them on many issues, but I think that they were articulate, that they were strong, they defended their position. So I was impressed by the debates, and I enjoyed them.
Dennis, what do you think overall?
I love all the hand-wringing the Democrats are doing, because this is reminiscent of 2016 and the Republicans had everyone and anyone out there.
And that worked out really well for you guys.
Really well, so I'm hoping it does the same for Democrats. But no, I think, last night what we saw over the 2 nights actually is there are 5 contenders who right now receive 75% of the polling. Those 5 stood out over the 2 nights. Those 5 are probably your top tier, and they'll probably be the ones who make it into 2020 in the real election cycle.
If you're Donald Trump, is there anybody that you really would rather not tangle with? I kind of wondered if he really wants to see Kamala Harris at the other lectern at a debate.
Well, he may have to fire some new pollsters after last night when it shows her beating him. But no, I think obviously he's worried about Joe Biden. But after seeing what Kamala Harris did last night to someone who has a great track history of debating and someone who's very well known, she's going to be popping up on his radar for sure.
What do you think about that? Is there somebody that maybe worries the president at this point?
I think I agree with what was said by my friend right here. I've got nothing more to add. And I do think Kamala Harris did show that she has some real chops. Didn't surprise me, but we also pay attention to this a lot more than the average bird, and I think that was an amazing introduction for her.
But if Joe Biden was the presumed front runner, though, did he come away badly damaged by that exchange with her?
I mean, there's clearly a conversation happening right now that's important, and people want to hear more about what he said last night. I think people realize that debates on some level are artificial, and that there is an ongoing conversation 24/7 now, right, in our country, on our devices and the rest of it. So I don't know that it was necessarily helpful to him, but I certainly don't think it's fatal, right? And he was at the Rainbow Coalition, I think further explaining his record, and that this is a marathon. It is not a sprint, and I think it's, he's right up there.
Let me just say
leading the pack.
As a pollster, when you have had your name identification developed and your popularity developed over years and decades, a one-night attack in a debate is not going to hurt you very much.
Right.
It's going to send a warning to you that you better do better, but it's not going to move numbers. He is not all of a sudden going to become unpopular because of these hits that occurred in this debate.
Well, and Stephen, in 2019, isn't it defendable to say, look, I didn't think that busing was suddenly going to integrate our schools, and it didn't. It hasn't. Is that bad of a position to have held in the early 70s?
Yeah. So I mean, I think the problem is that when you say busing, no one's thinking about busing and the sort of practical end of whether it worked or not. That's become proxy for race, and that's become proxy for integration. And his answer to that question made it really unclear what he thinks the federal government ought to be doing about historical bigotry, right? I mean, that was what the government was involved in there, was trying to say, there's a 14th Amendment, there's a Supreme Court ruling, you have to integrate your schools. And he got caught up in this sort of weeds of, well, it was this and that, and it sounded as though he was defending states and local officials saying they didn't want to do it.
Let's quickly move to the gerrymandering decision. Dennis, I come away from this thinking the red states are going to get redder, the blue states are going to get bluer. We're kind of we're stuck in our current loggerheads dynamic, given the Supreme Court sort of taking a pass on this.
Right. So I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that what the court said is it's not up for the judicial branch to decide, but let the political process play out. And if you go back to 2015,
isn't that how we got here?
Yes, in a way, because those parties that were controlling redistricting overplayed their hand. And what the U.S. Supreme Court said in 2015 was independent commissions, although not the legislature, are okay to do redistricting. So then what did you see here in Michigan in 2018? The people standing up 61% saying, yes, the legislature here in Michigan has not served us well over these past 2 redistrictings. We want to move to an independent commission. That is all completely permissible. It happened in Ohio, Utah, Colorado. So no, I don't think that we're going to get redder or bluer. I think redistricting will still be a mess because it requires a lot of expertise to do this. But no, I think the decision was correct.
So what do you think?
I do not think it's correct, and agree with what I read Justice Kagan wrote in her dissent, which is essentially the Supreme Court exists to protect democracy and to fix it when it's not working.
Bitterly written dissent as these things go, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think she might have said her heart was broken.
Yeah.
About it. And so in that instance, what happened here in Michigan, I was a part of that campaign, was extraordinary. And every state has a different set of laws by which citizens can change how these districts are drawn. However, in many of them, you will beat your head against the same corruption, special interest, right? That caused gerrymandering in the first place.
But if you look at the history of this, in 1946, in Colegrove versus Green, liberal Democrat Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter says we should not get involved in apportionment because we shouldn't get into the political thicket. Now that changes in 1962 in Baker versus Carr, in 1964 in Reynolds versus Sims, when they decide that they're going to go to one man, one vote, because the districts are so out of tune. In Tennessee, they hadn't reapportioned since 1901 when that was done. And they've also decided in racial instances that they should do it. But other than that, the court has been pretty consistent going back to Colegrove and how they've handled it.
Only got about 15 seconds for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually, ironically, what we did in Michigan, what they did in Ohio, what they've done in other states where the political process has taken care of this, gave the Chief Justice cover to say, let that unfold and we'll stay out of it.
Great. Thanks, gang, very, very much. When we come back, former Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuette here to talk about the decision of the current Attorney General Dana Nessel. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
Upgrade to a new Honda during the Tamaroff 50th anniversary sales event. Choose from a huge selection of Hondas and upgrade for as little as $50 a week with only $50 down. Available at both Jeffrey and Tamaroff Honda or visit us online.
What is this? A text message from the Wayne County Treasurer's Office about my payment plan?
That's right. Our Project Text Message program allows you to enroll in our free text messaging service. All you have to do is provide your cell phone number. I'm here today with one of our customer service representatives, Karim Howell. She will explain how it works.
Our customer service team will send friendly reminders and text alert updates about your current payment plan. Everyone gets busy. We want to help you stay on track with your tax payments to avoid foreclosure. Call 313-224-5990 to enroll in our voluntary program. You will receive reminders on tax payment due dates and other important valuable information.
Join Project Text Message today by calling 313-224-5990 or email our office at textinfo@waynecounty.com. Stay in touch. Stay connected.
Next, Ellen. She's with her geography geniuses. Plus, Jake Gyllenhaal from Spider-Man.
People are going crazy. There hasn't been a Marvel movie out for at least 4 weeks, so this is good.
Ellen, Monday at 3 on Local 4.
Tonight at 11, a World War II hero.
It was our duty to ward off those enemy fighters.
A fighter for civil rights.
Tried to apply with 2 airlines, and I was rejected because of my skin color.
Almost 95, he's one of a dozen Tuskegee Redtails still living. Hear his story of battling hatred in Europe and here at home.
My feeling was that I am a citizen of this country, And what I'm doing is fighting for my rights.
Tonight on Local 4 News at 11.
Back in February, as Attorney General Dana Nessel started to shuffle the prosecutorial pieces in the Flint water crisis investigation, we were told it was not a complete restart. Well, just a few weeks ago, that's pretty much what Nessel announced, dumping the existing cases and basically starting things from scratch. That means taking an eraser to the work of her predecessor, Bill Schuette, and former Attorney General Bill Schuette is my guest this morning. Good to have you here, Bill. Thanks very much for coming.
Great being with you, Devin. Thank you.
What was your first reaction when you heard that all of those cases were being dropped and basically it was going to start over?
Well, you know, I was surprised because a do-over, starting over when this investigation produced, 59 charges against 15 people. We got 5 convictions, and we were ready to go for more in terms of trials. It was a surprise, and my focus is always about, think about the families of Flint. You know, there are still in Flint today people who only drink water from a plastic bottle, and this is a community that feels, I think, powerless and marginalized with assembly lines shutting down and a shrinking city. And this is all about delivering justice for families of Flint, and that really needs to be the perspective you keep all the time.
In fact, I know you don't really want to get into a tit-for-tat with the current Attorney General, but I think it's kind of impossible not to look at this and see it as a slap at the way that your office had proceeded with the case. Isn't this sort of, are you feeling an insult of all this?
No, I don't take stuff personally, but here's the thing that's very important. During my terms as Attorney General, there were 3 big investigations. The Catholic Church,
right.
The Nassar MSU investigation, and I'm the guy who put Nassar behind bars for the rest of his life, and the Flint water investigation. And in each one of these investigations, we assembled a top flight team, experienced investigator like Andy Arena, former head of the FBI, 2 judges former judges to review our work, David Layton, the prosecutor in Genesee County, the city of Flint, and Todd Flood, a respected former prosecutor here in Wayne County. So we had a strong team, and we pursued it, and we only went where the facts led us, and when evidence and the facts matched the jury instructions, then we filed charges. And so we were always fighting. There are some fights worth fighting for. Justice for families of Flint is worth fighting for.
But there were a couple of things that kind of made this a sort of mucky case, for lack of a better word. For starters, you were in the middle of a campaign for governor, and you had people saying that really, even some Republicans in the state were criticizing you for kind of trying to play this to some sort of political advantage, even though you had handed it off to Todd Flood and had others proceeding with it, that there was a bit of gamesmanship in this because you were trying to get the next governor.
Yeah, and again, just not true. That's never the case. Politics never entered into it, and frankly, politics, the accusation, never entered into the Catholic Church investigation or the MSU Nassar investigation. So there never one shred of politics because of the people there. Andy Arena, impeccable reputation. David Layton, a Democrat who we worked with on this, and plus the team we had was always by the book, no politics whatsoever. Frankly, the political thing would have been to do nothing. And I'm not going to turn my back on the fact that 12 people died, thousands of kids were poisoned. I'm going to stand up for families of Flint, period.
You mentioned the 5 convictions. We ended up with people just being convicted. Now, we didn't know what was going to happen with the other 8, but we ended up with people just convicted of misdemeanors. Nobody spent any time in jail. Do you think people really were being held accountable so far?
I think it's all about accountability, because that's what Flint is all about. Because when laws were broken, then you put together a case. It's police work, it's legal work, investigative work, and you go right by the book. And so, families in Flint understand that I fought for them, and I'm going to continue to always stand up for them. It doesn't matter who the Attorney General is or the governor or who the defendants are. It's all about families of Flint. They deserve justice.
The law, I suppose, treats criminality and just ineffectual bad decision-making the same, doesn't it? I mean, did you see criminality in what happened in Flint, or did you just see mostly ineffectual leadership and bad decisions?
Well, we filed charges when laws were broken, and the allegations that we filed.
Did it not rise above a misdemeanor? I mean, we had the state's former health director and the state's top doctor both being charged at the time with involuntary manslaughter, and that never
And we had 5 convictions, others charges pending where we had bindovers. Probable cause, overwhelming probable cause was determined by a district court judge, and it was on appeal, and everyone was waiting for that. But I guess the point here is that we had solid charges, and you only filed charges when the evidence matches the jury instructions and the elements of crime. And again, we had a reviewing team that was exhaustive, thorough, painstakingly thorough, and that's the team we had, and that's important for everyone to understand that this was a top-notch investigation, just like the Catholic Church and just like MSU and Nassar.
The other mucky part of this, though, had nothing to do with the fact that you were running for governor, and that was a structural issue. The fact that these were state decisions that were being made, state officials, statewide officials, and here was the job of another state official to both prosecute and defend the state at the same time in a weird way, right?
Well, these things, this is a complicated case. Because, and frankly, the biggest criminal case in Michigan's history, and never before has a city in the United States of America had its water system poisoned because of the failure to put an anti-corrosive in the water to protect from lead leaching into the water. And so that was a huge, huge problem. That's why this made this different than anything else, but our charges were solid, and we had a thorough review team. And, frankly, our justice system demands nothing less than standing up for families, frankly, when laws were violated, impacted the public health.
A lawyer suggested to me that the only reason you would pull these cases back is if you started to smell a loser. You were confident, I'm assuming, on these 8 cases proceeding as they were.
Oh, absolutely. We had a strong case on all of our charges, and you kind of go step by step by step, and we had solid charges. We were very confident that it would go to trial.
PBS recently did not recently, a couple months ago, did a program, a documentary on what happened in Flint, and they kind of suggested that the 12 deaths attributed to Legionnaires may have been a big undercount, that there may have been other deaths that might have been attributed to other diseases. Are you confident that we have a full understanding of the toll that all of this took yet?
Well, that's what investigations are all about.
Yeah.
It was ongoing, and criminal charges have been filed. We're ready to go to trial, and that's why we had a team of courtroom experienced, solid folks, women and men with great experience ready to go to trial. And who knows what other evidence might come down in the future. And then when new evidence might come forward, what does a prosecutor do? Every prosecutor then amends the charges. You don't just dismiss it. Rather, you keep fighting for families and fighting for justice.
After all of this time now that has passed, and I know that these investigations, as you say, were still going on, have you been able to arrive at a conclusion as to really where the breakdown was and who was ultimately responsible for what happened to the people of Flint?
Well, what my job was to make sure I assembled a team of experienced folks to review the evidence, review the facts, file charges if need be, and then
what I'm assuming you are as familiar with all the facts in this case as anybody out there right now.
Absolutely. And
so
then it goes to the trial process, and then the system, the justice system comes into play. A trial by a jury of your peers, a judge enters this issue, and then a final decision is warranted, just like any other alleged crime. Now, these cases, no case is easy. Everyone is difficult, and everyone you take seriously, and that's what we did when I was Attorney General.
Well, I'm going to ask it then one more time.
Sure.
Though. Ultimately, what caused the problem to your way of thinking from this?
Okay, fair question. The allegations that we put forward in court and the charges we filed is the failure of responsibility for this anti-corrosive not being placed in the water resulted in kids being poisoned, and 12 people died. Those are the allegations. We stand by them. And again, some fights are worth fighting for, and I was proud to stand with the families of Flint.
And it's still baffling to think, because that was such an inexpensive decision that was made at the time. Lastly,
yes, sir.
The governor, some people see culpability with the governor. Other people say, well, I don't expect my governor to be a hydro engineer. You hadn't charged him, clearly, obviously, but did you feel that culpability rose to the level of Governor Snyder's office?
We only filed charges when the evidence matched the facts and the jury instructions.
Which means thus far it didn't.
And you never target anybody, because that's unfair. That's not our system of justice. And we just did it very methodically and went by the book, kind of like Dragnet Joe Friday, just by the book.
And no regrets to you with the way that it was handled at all at this point?
Absolutely. I mean, nothing to apologize for, because this is about delivering justice for families of Flint, just like we did for Nassar, just like we did for the Catholic Church.
Former Attorney General Bill Schuette, thanks very much for the time.
Good being
Good
with
to
you.
have you here. You bet.
Thank you, Devin.
We'll be back with more on Flashpoint right after this.
Always there for you. Come experience the Gowling difference at Gowling Alfa Romeo of Birmingham.
For a limited time, lease the 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia with all-wheel drive starting at just $349 a month. Or drive home the 2019 Alfa Romeo Stelvio with all-wheel drive for only $379 a month. Plus, get $1,000 in FCA loyalty bonus cash. See dealer for details. Don't wait. Hurry into Gowling Alfa Romeo of Birmingham today. On Woodward, just south of Maple, and at alfaromeoofbirmingham.com.
The region is on the rise. Project after project, building, growing, innovating. We're building the future right now. Hard work matters here. IBEW Local 58 electricians and NECA signatory contractors bring commitment, pride, expertise, and passion to every job. It's our code of excellence. One vision, one team, one mission. To build the very best Michigan for all of us. Put us to work for you. The best contractors, the best electricians, period.
When your gutters clog with leaves and debris, it causes bigger issues than you may think. Clogged gutters prevent water from flowing away from your home, causing costly damage. Gutter Systems of Michigan's exclusive ProLock Elite Gutter Protection handles anything from oak leaves to pine needles. Our drip-free gutters and ProLock Elite combine to protect your home's foundation, roof, and even siding. Enjoy clog-free gutters with Gutter Systems of Michigan.
Call 833-DRIP-FREE.
We crank out a lot of news here, but sometimes you might feel a little overwhelmed and just want the news that you're really into. Well, Local 4 newsletters can do that. Get your consumer news from Help Me Hank, or the fun stuff at Live in the D, or what a lot of people are doing now, starting their day with our cool morning report. It's really popular. All you have to do is go to the newsletters tab at clickondetroit.com, and you can thank me later.
Local 4 newsletters, the news you want right in your inbox.
About wraps it up for us. If you haven't done so yet, mark your calendars. July 30th, July 31st. Those are the two nights the Democrats will be back for their next round of debates, and those will be at the fabulous Fox Theater in Detroit. Thanks so much for being here. Meet the Press coming up next. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Flashpoint.